Welcome to The Deeper You Go, The Weirder It Gets. I'm your host, Garrett Raymond. So this episode is an update on the journey of the Ayahumero. And so I'm going to give you a brief overview of my journey and also talk about the rookie year and part of the sophomore year. So this episode is long overdue and I hope you enjoy it. But before we get into it, as always, I have some announcements. If you are enjoying the show, please like it, share it, subscribe to it, and leave a review. And also, a few other ways to support is one, get you some podcast gear. I have t-shirts, hoodies, hats. I get a lot of compliments every time I wear these things out. So do yourself a favor and get you some gear. Also, I have amazing products designed to help you become better looking, stronger, healthier, and more connected to the natural world. I have pine pollen, which will help you increase your energy, increase your focus, build muscle, and improve your sex drive. I also have tallow, which is great for the skin. And in fact, your skin is the largest organ on your body. So everything you put on your skin gets absorbed into your body. And most moisturizers are full of toxins and pseudoestrogens and synthetic smells, and they are just a chemical shitstorm. I also have the Unplugged Journal, which is a great tool for helping you with your daily practice of gratitude, as well as helping you improve your daily habits, thoughts, and actions. See, never forget, we are a product of what we do every single day. So if you want to improve, if you want things to be better, you have to change your daily habits. And this journal is a great tool to help you do that. So again, support the show, get some products, like it, share it. And that's all I got. So let's get on with the episode. Okay, so it's been a while since I've done an update on the Ayahumero. As promised, I want to talk about the rookie year of the Ayahumero. So I recommend that you go back and listen to the podcast titled Return of the Ayahumero, which will give you a little bit more context, but in order to make this a standalone episode, I'm going to lay the foundation a little bit. So in January of 2023, I decided to embark on a year-long sama. Now, up until that point, I had been working with ayahuasca for 5 or 6 years, and I had done several samas. I had been assisting in ceremony, and I'd just kind of been progressing along. And then I made the decision to go deeper and to take on the path of practitioner. And so in order to do that, you need to do a year-long sama. And so for those of you that don't know, a sama is, let me step back and say that the word sama, diet, and dieta kind of mean the same thing. And so oftentimes I will use those words interchangeably. So just know that sama, dieta, and diet are essentially the same word. And I'll explain what this means. So a sama is essentially a process in which you form a very strong energetic connection with a particular plant or tree. So the reason it translates to the word diet or dieta is because you consume that plant or tree physically, but you are also consuming it energetically. And this diet is also not about what you take in, but it's also about what you restrict, right? Just like any diet. And so the restrictions for this are very intense. So for a year, there's no salt, no sugar, no oil, no spices, no red meat, no alcohol, no marijuana, no sex, no input, or no stimulus, I should say, no stimulus. So basically, the only thing you can consume, and also no other plant material. So the only thing you can consume is fish, chicken, rice, lentils, some bananas or plantains. And that's essentially it for an entire year. And now, if you understand body chemistry, no salt for a year, not to mention all the other things that suck, right? This is definitely no fun, but no salt for a year is not healthy at all. Salt is a necessary nutrient. And so I was always wondering why the no salt. And it's essentially because it's unhealthy for you. And the purpose of that is to break you down physically. And it was extremely hard. So you have to remember that we operate on three levels of consciousness, right? The physical plane, the mental plane, and the spiritual plane. And so no salt and a very limited restrictive diet breaks you down and weakens you physically. And so the idea is that to compensate, you will grow spiritually and mentally. And then the idea is that after you close the diet, you then build yourself back up physically, and your whole being, all three planes of, you've leveled up on all three planes of consciousness. So that year was extremely hard. It was one of the hardest things I'd ever done. I lost over 40 pounds, which, if you know what I look like, I don't have 40 pounds to lose. I've never had 40 pounds to lose. So I lost a lot of muscle. I got very sick. I got very weak. I completely wrecked my digestion. And the last few months of my diet, I was just hoping and essentially praying to God that I didn't do myself permanent physical damage, because I just felt absolutely horrible. So the whole path of the Ayahumero is extremely fascinating because I never set out to do that. In fact, I had no idea that something like the Ayahumero actually existed. Typically, when people do a year-long sama, they do multiple plants or multiple trees over the entire year. So they will diet for a year, but they may swap out some things here and there. And it makes a lot of sense, and that's what I thought I was going to do, because every time you have a successful sama with a plant, especially when you're in this practitioner role, it's like getting a new, you make a strong relationship with a new plant ally, and then you also, it's like you get a new tool for your tool belt. And so with that being said, you think like every time I diet, I get a new tool, and the more tools I have, the better work I can do. And at least that's the logic, and it makes a lot of sense. So that's what I thought I was going to do. But I started my year-long sama with Ayahumero, and wasn't quite sure what else I was going to do, but I started for 3 months. So as I was progressing through this diet, and I should say that Ayahumero has a reputation for being extremely hard. It's a very strong, powerful tree. It's highly respected. It's hard to put a hierarchy, but I would put it as the top. It's the hardest diet by far, the strongest diet by far. And it's funny that people who have done it for a month or 2 months or 3 months, they always make a sound when they ask you, what are you dieting? And you say Ayahumero. They always go, oof, because they know it's hard. Anyway, I started off with Ayahumero for 3 months, and progressing along. It was hard, and I was doing my thing. And maybe about 2 or 3 months into it, I overheard someone talking about the Ayumeros, and that obviously piqued my interest. So I said, "What are you talking about? Tell me a little bit more." And he basically said, "Well, to be honest with you, I don't know much about them. I just know that they are a group of individuals who solely work with Ayahumero." And that obviously piqued my interest for 2 reasons. One, I was dieting Ayahumero, and 2, for all the reasons I just mentioned, right? Like, it always seemed like the more plants and the more trees you can do, the better. So why would somebody just kind of commit to one tree? So my interest got piqued, and I started to look into this a little deeper. So I was starting to search the internet. I was looking for everywhere to find some more information on these Ayumeros, and I couldn't find anything. So I did what you're actually supposed to do in this situation, and that is ask your plant. So, or your tree. So I asked Ayahumero, what are these Ayumeros? What can you tell me about them? And Ayahumero came back and said, if you do your entire Sama for 1 year with me, I will show you. So at that point, I was basically like, all right, I'm in. This sounds super interesting. And once I made that commitment, things started to shift. And I started to have this even deeper relationship with Ayahuma. And then maybe about 8 months in or so, I got this message, which I know sounds very egotistical, but it is what it is, right? I got this message that from Ayahuma that said, you are going to help bring the Ayumeros back. And I was taught and I was told that the Ayumeros were this ancient warrior slash shaman type people who were essentially almost equivalent to like the Jedi. And they were very strong and they were very powerful. And for some reason, they've essentially gone extinct. And I was told that you were going to help bring this back and that the Ayumeros are needed now more than ever. So obviously that got me really excited, and I don't know what that means, right? Am I going to turn into a Jedi? Am I going to have a lightsaber? Am I going to be able to do force chokes? Hopefully, but anyway, that's what I was told. And at that point, I was in. I was all the way in. I was excited, but also this was at the point where the diet got extremely hard, and I started to get really sick and just essentially was hating life. Then I'm coming up to a year of being in this diet, and I close my diet, and then I have this experience with Ayahuma after I close the diet where I just feel the presence and the power and the entire universe and just how big the world of Ayahuma is. It just came in and it completely overwhelmed me, but it was amazing. And after that moment, I remember thinking, oh, I get it. I get it now. I completely understand why somebody would solely commit to this tree. Because what I felt, and I also knew that I was only scratching the surface, but what I felt was unlike anything I had ever felt before. And it felt like this infinite world of knowledge that I was going to have access to. Not given to, but access to. Like this is good. I want to make this clear. Like this is an ever going journey, right? Nothing is given to you, but I was granted access into this world. Like I said, I was in and excited to further my journey with Ayahuma. So I then wrap up the year-long diet, come back home, which presented challenges, a whole bunch of other challenges. See, like I mentioned, the year-long diet was one of the hardest things I've ever done. But then integrating back into society was just as hard, if not harder, because one aspect of doing the year-long Sama, while it was hard, you kind of get this free pass of like, hey, well, that's all I'm doing, right? All I got to worry about right now is getting through this diet. I just have to take things step by step. But then once you are done with the diet, then you're back in the real world. And not that my problems went away during the year, but all of a sudden you get flooded back with what real life is. It's almost kind of like the equivalent of graduating high school or graduating college, right? Like your senior year of high school, you're the man or you're the woman and you're on top of the world and you're the cool guy and all this stuff. And then you graduate and then all of a sudden you get thrust into the real world and you're like, I don't know what to do with myself. So that's essentially how I felt. Not to mention, I also had to kind of rebuild my body and regain my strength. So this essentially began what I would consider my rookie year of being an Ayahumero, because one of the reasons I did all of this was not only for personal growth, but so that I could lead ceremonies. And if you think about sports, the rookie year is kind of the perfect analogy, because you think about all the best athletes in the world: Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Tom Brady, you name it, right? All of those are the best, but none of them necessarily had a good rookie year. Nobody has a good rookie year. It's the jump from high school to college to the professionals, the professional league it's an extremely large jump. And then not to mention you're essentially like this kid who is now competing with adults. And that's exactly what it felt like for me. I was started to lead ceremony and it was extremely hard and I felt out of my league. But like all good rookies, see, a good rookie year is usually summed up by the fact that you're going to make a lot of mistakes. It's expected of you to make mistakes. But what people want to see from you and how they know you're going to be a good professional and how they know you're going to make it is that you learn and you adapt from these mistakes and you start making less and less mistakes and you have moments of greatness, moments of, okay, I see that you get it and you feel that you get it. And that's, without going into a lot of detail, that's essentially how my rookie year went. Every ceremony I did, I would struggle, but I would adapt and I would grow and I'd get better and I'd get stronger. And it was an amazing process, but it was extremely hard. And so one of the things that would happen, which was both cool and was very hard at the same time, was I started to become way more sensitive to energies. So what I mean by that is when I was in ceremony, I would start feeling everybody's stuff. I would start feeling everybody's energy. And then when someone would come up and sit in front of me, I would completely go into their entire world and I'd feel all their sadness and all their trauma and all their fears. And it was cool because I was completely tapped in and it gave me and it allowed me to do very good work, because if I was feeling something, I would direct my energy towards that. And I knew I was making progress because as I started to feel better, they started to feel better. So it was really cool to be able to feel that and see that. And it made me realize I was making a lot of progress. But the negative side of that is I was taking on way too much and it was wrecking me. And it was a lot. And I was really getting beat up energetically and struggling. And I remember after one ceremony in particular, I got extremely sick after a ceremony. I went up to my room and I thought I was going to die. I felt absolutely poisoned. In fact, I had been working on someone who was suffering from cancer and I could feel all the cancer in my body and I could feel it saturating my cells. And I had never felt so sick in my entire life. And I kind of had this moment of like, I don't know what I'm going to do because I'm down for the cause. I'm down for this journey and I'm down to help people. I've been helping people my entire life, right? And I want to do this, but I don't know if I can, because if things keep progressing the way they're going and I keep taking all this stuff on, I'm going to die. And this is not being dramatic. I essentially had this moment of where I turned to my plants and to my tree and I asked Ayahumero and I said, hey man, we gotta figure something out here, because I said, I'm down to bring the Ayuhumeros back, but we can't keep going down this path. This is too much. So the message I got was, okay, you are going to do another Sama with me. So Ayahumero was like, you're going to do another Sama with me, but the difference is you are opening it up yourself. See, one of the things when you do a year-long Sama and after you complete it, you have the ability to open up Samas for yourself and for other people. And Ayahumero was like, we're going to get this straightened out. You're going to open up a diet with me. And so I did this in December, which was basically almost a year. So I completed my whole first rookie year. So I did this Sama with Ayahumero and it was extremely eye-opening and everything has changed since then. And basically what I got was, I know this sounds crazy and weird, but this is the best way to describe these things, that I was essentially gifted a suit of protection, and it was like this Iron Man suit. And if you think about Iron Man, if you know of how the comics work, Iron Man suit is extremely protected, but it's also technologically advanced, right? Because I didn't want to lose the sensitivity, because the sensitivity was teaching me and showing me what energies I needed to dress and wear. So I didn't want to lose that, but I didn't want to get beat up. And so this Iron Man suit was this blend of both worlds, where I had the suit of protection, but it was technologically advanced, where I had sensors and I could feel things. It was like sensors going off to work here and do this and do that. And after I completed that Sama, my protection shot through the roof, and I started to feel way stronger, and I had an even deeper connection with Ayahuma. And each ceremony since then, the growth has been more and more, and it's been fascinating and extremely exciting. So that essentially wrapped up the rookie year. It was I would say it was a very hard year and very stereotypical rookie year. And now I'm 6 months into my sophomore year, and things have shifted so much more for the better. And obviously, there are still struggles, and I'm still learning and I'm growing. But if you're going back to that sports analogy, it's always a big transition. See, when someone's a rookie, you're not really a threat, right? But after your rookie year, you start all of a sudden you become a solid member and a contributing member of the team, and you start becoming a threat to other teams. And it's super interesting because about a month ago, so it would be about halfway point into my sophomore season, after a ceremony, I had this very crazy vision. So I went back into my room and was laying there, and I saw all these practitioners from around the world working in ceremony. And I saw like and it's hard to explain, but I saw their spirit form, and everyone has unique gifts and unique personality, and I could see this in their spirit. And so everyone's kind of doing their own thing, and they're all these masters of their craft, so to speak. And I see them all over the world. And then I see myself emerge into that world. And it was like I came online, and all of a sudden, now you are in the world. And I became aware of them, and they became aware of me, which, again, I don't know, right? It's sounds crazy. And so essentially, that's where I'm at. So that's the rookie year update, with 6 7 months into the sophomore year. And I want to say one thing about this episode. Hopefully this is entertaining for you and you're getting a lot out of it and you're learning. I'm doing this essentially on the fly. Obviously, I know my story, but my thoughts are a little scattered. But I'm trying to do this as I'm driving to be more efficient with my time and be able to get more content out there. So thank you for listening, and thank you for being on this journey with me. And big thank you to all the people who have supported me on this journey, and especially the people that have been with me since the gym days, right? And you've trusted me for all these years, and you continue to work with me, and I thank you. So that's it. Sophomore season going strong, and the journey continues. See you on the other side.